Welcome to week 9 of the IBC Blackbelt Bootcamp. This is a culmination of everything we've learned and practiced over the last 8 weeks. You've taken massive strides towards becoming your own banker, the most important business in the world. But the truth is, this is just the beginning. The infinite banking concept is a lifelong journey, one that unfolds over decades, not just months, not just years, not just days, over years, decades, lifetimes, the way that we're teaching you. So today, we're going to focus on the road ahead, what long-term growth looks like in the infinite banking process, how to set meaningful milestones, because without a direction, how are you going to end up anywhere? And how to position yourself for financial mastery over the next several decades. So let's dive in. Infinite banking isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you're like me, you guys know my history. I'm not a big runner. I don't love running, but if I'm going to run a marathon, I'm going to swim 2.4 miles and ride 112 miles before I run the 26.2 miles. So that's how I want you to think of infinite banking. It's something that you might not know everything yet, but as you put the training in, as you take step by step, you're going to progress over time. And we want to celebrate our progression. That's why we're teaching this in the context of martial arts. We want to celebrate our progress in our mindset and in our money. And the power of this comes from steady, patient, persistent growth. Just like the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. And to fully reap the rewards, you need to set a long-term goals and set a course for the decades ahead. And this is all about creating a vision for your IBC journey and breaking that vision down to actionable, measurable steps. And as you guys have heard me say before, and we've talked about here, we haven't evolved. So let's give ourselves a little bit of permission. As humans, we haven't evolved to think long-term yet, to think about this. This is a trainable skill, though. How do we visualize where we want to be, what skill sets we have in the future? And we're going to talk about this a lot, so I'm not going to stay here right now, but there's tons of neuroscience behind this. Like Dr. Benjamin Hardy writing, be your future self now. How crazy is that? Right now, be your future self. Make the decision how you react to the world, how you react to this information, and what it does for you is all about your perception. And as your perception changes, think about this. Somebody at one point dreamed of the Empire State Building. Put it in the chat. Everybody familiar with the Empire State Building? Can you see it in your mind? You've seen it before. You've seen it in movies. Or the Chrysler Building, right? It's an iconic building, a landmark in the US. That didn't exist hundreds of years ago or whenever it was built. It didn't exist at that time. But somebody in their mind saw it. And they took what wasn't there and they created it through a vision, through having purpose, through building it. And that's what's there for all of us when it comes to our money and our lifestyle and what you're all here for. You all want the same thing. Do you guys remember what you want? Do you remember the one thing that you want? The one thing that you're here for, giving us your most valuable resource, your time, your money, your energy, right? What's the one thing? You guys all want freedom. You want freedom. And so let's jump into this together. So Gabe, before I jump in and we talk about the designated 5 stages of infinite banking, just weigh in. You've been doing this with me for the last 8 weeks. We're redoing this one. I'm amped up, as you can tell, maybe a little too much coffee, but I'm ready, man. So where are you at today? Share with the fine folks we got here.
Everybody wants freedom, but it's the discipline that's going to get you freedom in the end. Doing the skills, doing the required inputs that'll create the outputs. It's just that simple. And sometimes we get caught up with things that don't matter or distractions, or what's that one phrase? We borrow money to buy things we don't want to impress people that we don't even like. So if you can start to surround yourself with people who focus on what matters, and first you got to start with cleaning up your room. That's a phrase I heard once. Like, take care of your house first. If you want to go change the world, first start by cleaning your room, taking care of your financial house. Like, I've always had dreams of having like a jujitsu school, or not really a jujitsu school, but I wanted to help people with like with their finances, with their fitness, and I just wanted to kind of be like a teacher and a coach. And I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to have like a facility one day, but I didn't master the basics. And just looking back now, it's like, man, if I would have just gotten good at the basics and practiced them over and over, I wouldn't have gotten myself into a lot of messes. And I don't know, just those are just some of my thoughts. As you're talking about this introduction, I relive a lot of messes, but also seeing messes that whether it's like family members, friends that get themselves into, it's like, man, that could all be avoided if we just kind of knew this information, but applied the knowledge, right? Not just think we know something, but put it into action so we can get the results that matter.
And Gabe, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Everyone heard what Gabe said. He saw the messes, and then he also said in his message that they are blessings. They're not messes, they're blessings. They are the lessons, and we do not grow. We might do the same thing for a whole lifetime without ever changing. If you understand power versus force and the fact that most humans are only going to grow 5 points in their consciousness during a lifetime, but some people might grow hundreds of points because when you're ready for the lesson, guess what? The teacher arrives. You are aware, you are asking better questions. So as we weigh in, let's go ahead and write where you're at. Like, where do you think you're at? I'm going to give you 5 stages of the infinite banking journey before we set our visions in the future. But where are you at right now? Like, what skills is it going to take to go to the next level? Where are you today in your financial mastery? Do you, like Gabe said, have you written stuff down? Do you know where you're at? Have you weighed in? Have you weighed in yet? Just pop it in the chat. Where are you today? Like Shane, I know where Shane started. Shane, where are you today? Same with some other folks here. We got some people practicing. We got some new people here. So if you're new here, go ahead, like this video, right? Subscribe, and then hit the little blue bell so it turns blue and you get alerted to new content. And stage 1 is the glorified savings account. It's right there on your screen. That's stage 1. That just tells you that you start understanding the game that we are in, the game that we're playing, and what the banks are doing with our money. You start understanding, like Gary Brecka, we watched a video last week, and I didn't know Gary, Gabe, you know who he is, right? Biohacker, 10X Health. I believe he's a partner of Grant Cardone. But he sat in an actuarial office working for life insurance companies for like 20 years. And so the one thing, when you understand life insurance and the structure of their business, they're only betting on one variable. And that one variable is how long we're going to live. And you guys might not want to hear this. So if you don't want to hear this, cover your ears, earmuff yourself. But at some point, you're going to die. You're not going to be here anymore. And the life insurance companies with actuarial science know about the month that you're going to die, the year and the month, like almost to the day. And so all they're betting on is how long will we pay them premium deposits to when they have to give us the second guarantee, which is our tax-free death benefit. So if you understand how stable life insurance companies are, how they're only betting on one variable, well, then we know, well, if we're going to put money away for 3 months, 6 months, a year, and we're going to store it somewhere, where are we going to store it? Well, let's store it in a glorified savings account. Now, it's an opportunity fund as well. Now we have guaranteed growth, we have access to the money, it's growing tax-free, and we have a guaranteed legacy. And if you're not wanting to do the banking process that we're teaching you, that's cool, right, Gabe? Like stage 1 is a much better place to be at than most people having their monies in the banks. Because now you understand the game. We're either making interest or we're giving up the opportunity to earn interest, right? We're either paying it or making it.
You mentioned they're making a bet, and they're very accurate, those actuaries. But what I like is that they offer us guaranteed contracts. So they could, I don't know, and they've been at this for hundreds of years, some of these companies, and they just, I can only imagine how many income streams they have just from, whether it's treasury bills and bonds and all the different portfolio that, that they're invested in, but it's all so safe and guaranteed, and they've set themselves up for hundreds of years, right? So that they can offer us the guaranteed. And, I just think it's amazing because nowhere else can you get guaranteed growth, right? The
No,
banks
here's a
can't
fun
guarantee anything.
here's a fun fact, Gabe. That's so accurate. Right now, this is crazy. Jeff Bezos, you guys know who he is, right? You probably get some boxes coming to your house. Like started off as like an online bookstore, and now is Amazon, right? It's a one of the biggest companies in the world. Jeff Bezos is already preparing for bankruptcy. Do you know why? Because every company typically lasts about 30 to 50 years, unless you're a brewery or a life insurance company. Go check it out. I mean, go look up companies that have been around hundreds of years. There's very few, or maybe some of the other, like Ford and some of the other companies, but typically it's breweries and your life insurance companies. Most other companies, technology changes, things change, people's needs change, and a company might last 20, 30, 50 years max. And so that's pretty crazy, right? And so let's go to stage two. I could talk about stage one for a long time. So, stage two, I've labeled it consuming. This is where now we're using our glorified savings account. And now when we need to make a purchase, we're going to do it through our own account. We're going to save in this account. We're going to build up, right? We're going to build up capital for the things that we're going to buy anyhow, whether that's cars, whether that's, paying for our kids' school, whether that's vacations, like we're using our policy on Connor to pay for our ski trip. Again, this is the third year in a row that we've been able to do that. And it's amazing. Like it's so cool that he knows that his banking system is funding our trip and then we replenish it and then we can use it again next year because now we're keeping all of that interest that we would have paid to somebody else for the trip and just the money would have been gone forever, but now it's growing. Now it's increasing the legacy piece and it's something that we are able to use because it's an irrefutable principle that we finance everything we buy. It's just a fact. And when you understand that fact, every time you spend money, I want you to write down this question: will I ever make money with this money again? And if the answer is no, sometimes that's okay. Maybe you're at a concert and it's cash only, and so you're paying for a parking lot for a concert you want to go to. But when we start noticing the habit of when we're giving up that opportunity cost, then it'll help you make the shift to keep that money in your family. So remember, step one, glorified savings. Step two is we're using it for our consuming for everything we're going to buy. And you finance everything you're going to buy. So why not keep the money in your family? Stage three, this is a fun one. And it takes time. Remember, it's the marathon, or if you guys want to do an Ironman with me, I plan on doing them later in my 50s. So if you guys want to start training now, I'd get on it. But buying freedom. Buying freedom is what I mean by that is now we're putting our little green men to work. We're going out and we're investing in something. We're doing what the banks are doing. Like in our presentation, the money multiplier presentation, instead of the bank sitting in the middle, making 400 to 1500%, now it's Gabe's bank. Now it's Jason's bank. Now it's Shane's bank. Now it's everyone that's here. It's your bank. Put yourself in the middle, and now you're making a spread on your money, like Chris Nagle always talks about. Right now, you're going out and you're finding an investment for 12%. You're borrowing from your account at 6% from the life insurance company. You're making a 6% spread and you're growing the money on this side. And Gabe, talk about this for a second. I know this is something that you have developed this skill over time for your real estate investments from what you just did buying the farm, but talk about this stage a little bit. I know this one gets you lit up pretty good.
Yeah, especially because I kind of got the concept right away of infinite banking, but I just wasn't in a position to start. And I let life happen, and before you knew it, like 4 years had gone by, and I didn't start. But then I saw someone who was a mentor of mine. He had bought a BMW, and he bought it with this policy and did that piece, and then was able to pay it all back 5 years later. And then he had the car that was paid off. He had all the money back. They'd recaptured it, and I was so focused on like making money that I was missing the point on the recapturing and how that can also be more relevant to people, because not too many people think that, oh, I need to have time freedom, right? People are just used to working. They're used to That's how it is. You work hard, you exchange all day to someone else, and then they give you a paycheck, and then you get to go spend a little bit of time with your family, and that's it.
Mm.
And you don't ever get to enjoy your life. And I started learning about passive income when I was, 22, and got it to a point where like my passive income was covering my bills, and I had left my job from just some health issues. Like I had leave. Uh, I was a high school teacher. I taught biology and physics, and I ended up leaving. And I got into it was like an MLM, and then I got into like online businesses, and between different things, I just had more passive income than my bills. Not much, but it was enough to not have to have a job. And it was almost like I had to get that back in some other way. So when I went into real estate, I was very gung ho on like trying to do flips and trying to make all the big money at once, just because I didn't want to have a job. But missing out on you can start with your phone, a MacBook, just you got to start with a policy, get started and get it going, because then you learn how the system works and then you can build on it. You're not gonna like mat time. The experience just comes from mat time. That's where your skills are. You just got to be practicing and doing it a lot. If you're just watching, or you're picking and choosing parts of it, it's I don't know. I hope I'm making sense, but I just wanted to get into that. If you haven't started a policy yet, maybe I'm speaking to you guys about using it, because it's creating the foundation, and the foundation might take a long time, but
Mm.
once the foundation is ready, then all of a sudden you can put up a building pretty fast. You're one move away. Like we've
Mm.
been looking for a house for 2 years, and here I'll turn you guys around. So we're in like a golf course here. It used to be like kind of like a country club, but the golf course kind of shut down, and they turned into like a frisbee golf course. Then they had a restaurant there that shut down, but a house here, it's say maybe like 700, $800,000, and we're trying to figure out if we can get into this neighborhood, and then we'll be able to have walking distance to this, to our house, or to the academy here. But that's a like your primary residence is not an asset. It doesn't put money in your pocket. It's actually a liability. It's taking money out of your pocket every month. You got to pay the mortgage and maintenance and all these things. And luckily, my partner Amy, she thinks along the same way as me, and we're like, man, why don't we just find a property where we can put our jiu-jitsu school on it too, so we're not paying, because I'm paying about 4,000 a month here, but if I had that coming into our pocket every month, I wouldn't have had to go get a second job, right? We're working with the painting business, and now it's very relevant to me because like I have like no time freedom, so that's but anyway, but the move is setting us up for down the line. We don't have to pay rent here anymore. And the reason I brought up the price, we got a 12-acre farm for the same price of one of these houses on this golf course,
Yeah.
right? And it's going to actually produce money for us. But even like the negotiating, I didn't have an agent. I was my own agent. I represented myself. I got into real estate because I figured it'd be a lifelong skill worth having, you know? And I also figured like it's, big chunk commissions, that'd be cool too. But I always knew I needed to have that skill set, and it was going to carry me for life. I guess same with jujitsu. Once you're a black belt or in any martial art, it carries it with you. But I love talking about skills, man, the same way I like talking about guaranteed growth, guaranteed uninterrupted compound interest. I love talking about skills because in the end, that's what'll you. And even like the ability to make money. Like I've had to, like some people were good at like hustling and selling products. I still remember like kids would sell like candy at school. I was never that kind of entrepreneur, but I was kind of good at sales and I was good with real estate. So even just doing some Airbnbs, that's been holding me over while I was doing the transition to get the school open. But if you have skills that you can exchange, your time for money, now you can just, start stacking up your money. But then it comes back to now, can you save it, and eventually we can multiply. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
Dave,
want to
that's
go too much longer on this.
no, it's awesome that you're sharing. Like Shane just said, you're finding ways to turn your liabilities into asset. There was another comment by Stacy who said, "Well, remember, you're going to have equity in the home, but the fact is that unless you play the game and you can access the equity, you can access the lazy money in your home through like a first lien HELOC or a HELOC or something. your home is either appreciating or depreciated. It's actually, we got to look at it like a liability because it's not creating cash flow unless you're renting part of your home out, right? Unless you're home house
It's all
hacking or
about the
doing
cash
something.
flow.
It's all about the cash flow. So everything we're talking about, just hear the words action. Like if you hear Gabe and I talking, you're not following, just think action. And the action is getting on the mat. The action is we've talked about three stages so far. We've talked about glorified savings account, where your money is safe, where it's protected, where it's guaranteed growing, and it's giving you two guarantees. Then we talked about the next stage. We're going to buy stuff. How do we want to buy it? What Gabe's doing. I want to buy it through my own system. Now Gabe's saying, I have no time freedom. I had it once. I remember what it was. And then I turned around and I got really impatient and I made some decisions I regret. And now I've realized I've got to be more patient. I've got to look for the opportunity over the last 2 years. I've looked here and now I found something where I have exactly what I want because I already held it in my mind, which is going to be part of what we're going to go into. But let's look at the next stage, Gabe. So, next stage, I believe this is I'm here and I think I'm between this and the last stage. You guys can judge for me and tell me where you think I am. But I think it's a lifestyle where this is, and this is not for everybody. Most people have their business they're passionate about, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, a real estate investor, a teacher. I mean, put what you do here. Like, I know we got some truck drivers here, window cleaners, whatever your business is, whatever the thing is that you're good at, that you get paid for, that's the first business. The second business we're talking about is the most valuable business is banking, is controlling the banking function in your life, on the you and me level, right? Where you're the one in charge of it. So now you have two businesses, and we want you to be very good at both of them, which is why we're taking the time to walk you through this. But stage 4 is lifestyle. Now you've built your banking system, you've used it to protect the family, to create the guaranteed legacy, you've used it to buy the things in your life. Now you have cash flow coming back in. So now you have your number, whether your number is 3,000 or 5,000 or 10 or 20, whatever your number is for freedom, where it covers all of your expenses and all of your, if you have any debts left, like it's covering the things that you're going to use in your life. And now, if you want to do something, you can do it without worry. If you lose a job or something bad happens, you're protected because now you have your money working for you. Warren Buffett said this, Gabe, where he said, hey, you either learn how to have your money work for you while you're sleeping, or you will work for money until you die.
It's
So think
it's
about that. Think
thoughts
about
like that, it's quotes like that, man, that have just never let the flame out and just always focused on, like eventually we'll get there, and whether I can do it by the time I'm 40, 45, however long, then we'll have the rest of our life to spend with, the kids and the grandkids, But the other thing that's cool is if you can position it so where now you're working in maybe say your hobby, you get paid to do your hobby. Now it might not feel like work,
Mm.
but if you can still make money from it, and that's where some of that general knowledge, there, it's not just for banking, but also for your, just a different way of earning income. But absolutely, if you can master the banking business, all of a sudden now, eventually, imagine having like Brent, $1 million working for you, $10 million. I don't know how much he has, but he
He has
has so much money coming
120
in on his interest.
he has $120,000 a month coming in. He shared that pretty recently in one of our trainings, right? So imagine everybody,
Okay.
imagine you
Yeah.
have 120,000 a month coming in passively. Now you don't need that much, right? But maybe you want it. Like give yourself permission to want things. A lot of people I talk to, they're very much like, "Hey, I have enough and I'm grateful. God is good and I have faith and I'm fine." But also give yourself permission to want more. It's okay. Like money just brings out or amplifies who you are internally. So when it becomes a lifestyle, all of a sudden you're thinking big picture. Now you have yourself protected, your spouse protected, your kids are getting set up, you're teaching them, you're educating them, you're building your family banking system. Like Brent talks about it all the time. He's got 3 grown kids, I think he's got like 7 grandkids, but he's lending significant amount of money to his daughter Hannah, which many of you know, and then his 2 sons. One's in real estate, one's a pilot, and they pay him 14%. And you might think, that's crazy. Why is Brent charging him 14%? Well, guess what? All that money stays in the family. Any of the extra interest goes back to expand his banking system to make it more profitable. And then when he kicks rocks, when he's no longer here, guess what? The loans get paid off and they split the money up as an inheritance and you control it. So that's a lifestyle. And then you have the next stage. Now we have this one when it becomes this is the way. You know, if you're a Star Wars Mandalorian fan, this is the way. You're an evangelist at this point. You're someone that you can't stop talking about banking. You're like some of our clients, who are, they're sitting down to have lunch and they start telling the waiter or waitress. They're in an Uber. They start telling the Uber driver, wherever you are, you're like, hey, have you heard about this thing? It's pretty good. Like Patty's in Ecuador right now. And if you guys saw what she's talking about, she's like, I tell my family, I tell my friends what we're doing and our success over this short period, like 3 years. In 3 years, we've taken care of $114,000 of debt. We're using it to go on ski trips, and now we have passive income coming in for the first time in my whole life. In 3 years, you can go as slow and fat or as fast as you want. It depends on how much do you want to work for it and how much do you believe. But at this point, Gabe, this is where you're just sharing everything where you're like, listen, this is the way. This is what every single American should be doing. I don't care where you are as far as your income, but it's all going to be about your mindset. This piece right here is about your mindset. Like talking to someone earlier today,
Derek says it's so hard to educate family and friends. What's the
Derek.
saying? You can't be a prophet in your own hometown.
Yes,
You
that's
know,
why. Yeah,
it's
that's why Derek, amen. Like I don't even talk to my family and friends about it. I go to, Taekwondo and I gave one of my good buddies in my community, all I'm trying to get him to do is to use an existing old whole life policy that has $100,000 in cash value to pay off his Tesla and to recapture $700 a month, Gabe. And he doesn't want to do it because he thinks he's done the math. I'm like, you just haven't done the math right, sir. So I gave him Nelson's book and I was asking him, like, have you read it? No, I'm like, it's 91 pages. We're doing a challenge where we're reading 10 pages a day, which means in 9 days, well, 9 days, point one, you would have everything read. So what's going on? He is focused on other things. And that's where many of us are. But when you're at this level, when it's become a lifestyle, when you're going out and you want to tell everybody, what I would tell you, Derek, is invite everybody on your infinite banking bus. Some are going to get on, some aren't going to get on. And either way, we have to be okay with it. Gracious, grateful, empathetic. If you don't know, you don't know. If you're not understanding that there is a problem, why are you even looking for a solution? And that's where most Americans are because we've been groomed to give up our control. We've been taught to take on the risk, and we're wondering why we're here learning this together, why this means so much to us, why we're putting the time. So I put what is leadership here, and I'm so glad I did because I see tons of leadership happening in the chat. Leadership is nothing more. Check out this story. A quick story, if I may. So I went on one of my, training bike rides back when I was training for Ironman. It was a 100-mile ride. And this guy shows up that I've never met before, but he's a friend of one of the people I train with every week. We're usually a small group, maybe 4 or 5 of us. And we got this new guy with us, and the guy comes and he has one arm. He's got one full arm, a partial left arm, and his legs end at his knees, and that's how he was born. And he's out there riding the 100 miles with us. He's done Kona Ironman, which is the championship, multiple times. He's done multiple Ironman races. So we go out, we do our ride. That day I had to cut it short, so I think I did like 85 miles, Gabe. And as we got back, I was like, "Hey Raj, do you wanna do the transition run with me? Because you ride the bike and then you go run on tired legs." He's like, "No, man, I didn't bring my running legs." My mind was blown. I'm like, "Holy bleep and bleep! I am so soft." Like this guy has to prepare to the next level to do what he's doing, and he believes he can do it. And then I saw him maybe a couple of years later. Like I stayed in touch, we're friends. Saw him a couple of years later, and we're having a conversation how he's actually doing fix and flips where he does all the work himself, Gabe. Like he
whoa.
literally is doing all the remodeling, taught himself how to do this stuff, with what his physical abilities are. He doesn't see what's not possible or what he can't do. He only sees what he can do. And he goes to me, Jason, I'm teaching this to my nieces and nephews, he doesn't have kids yet, but to my nieces and nephews, and leadership is nothing more than going out, setting the trail, and turning around and putting your hand out and say, hey, I've got you. Follow me, I'll take care of you. And some people are going to follow, some aren't, and that's leadership. And so I see everyone here in the chat sharing their experiences, telling people how their successes have been, challenging the thinking, and that's what the community is. So that's awesome. Derek, Michael, Shane, everyone else that's
Yeah.
sharing, it's awesome.
Definitely want to lead by example. I had one of the parents of one of a jujitsu student. He liked to chat, and he was told me he was like selling mortgages, but it was when the first started to back up, so he couldn't. He lost like all his business, and he got his life insurance license again. And I was like, oh, you got to read this book. So I gave him the Becoming Your Own Banker book, and he texted me January 5th. He was like, I've been meaning to contact you. That book you gave me is really playing a big part in my success. I said, oh, it's amazing. I actually set up those banks for people now, just sort of one for my family. And then he started talking about just how much it's helped him. And, he's not affiliated with us, the money multiplier or anything, but just I try to always keep the books around, give them to people. I'm not sitting here pitching, my students. I did have a couple ask me to like give them a presentation, and then it ended up being a little awkward. I don't know. I think like they felt like I needed them to buy for some reason. I was just animated because it you're talking about evangelists. Like I'm gonna be very energized and passionate about it because the same way I think about jujitsu, right? Like my life doesn't mean the same without it. Just how I don't know. But anyway, but I've been looking for my own ways, and I've had such a great honor to be here with you, Jason, and chatting with you guys the past couple 9, 10 weeks, because I want to find my own voice and how to share this message, and it's been a lot of fun. So, but number one, it just comes from my experience. Like I knew right away, like in 2019, I wanted to help spread this message, but I hadn't done anything yet with my policies, right? I opened in, I started doing some things, but every year is just getting just more and more simple, but just a richer knowledge. And I just want to continue to share that in a way where the same way, like just teaching jujitsu to beginners, a lot of times being taught the wrong way or just the wrong experience will ruin it for you. And I've seen a lot of people who have just been their experience have been ruined, whether it's with a lot of times with that multi-level marketing business, and you would see like people have a bad experience and then they just give up on it. And so sometimes people rob themselves short, or a family member might tell them it's stupid, and then they don't want to look stupid, and then it's over for them. So I don't care if they hear it from me, from you, Jason, from Brent, from someone else's company. If they can take control of their money, in the end, what does Nelson Nash Institute say? We need to get at least 10% of the population to do this so we can reverse this crap that the Fed has done, and buy us back our freedom, man. Because we don't want to all just be financial slaves.
No, no, we are, and that's a tough word for a lot of people, right? Slavery. But we are,
Yeah,
if you're not understanding the game, like Einstein said, you have to first know the rules of the game and then play better than anyone else. I give that quote all the time. And with the mission of founding fathers, I was inspired by one of our peers, Gabe. Not in the money multiplier, but someone who's talking about building the community. And I was like, from Taekwondo, right? The reason victory means so much to me. I heard my chief master say, Victory's mission is to inspire and educate and prepare men. And then it went on, right? And I was like, that's it. Founding fathers. I didn't have a name yet, but it is to inspire and educate 10 million fathers and their families, which if there's 300 million people, there's your 10% because the fathers and the families, that's probably about 30 million, right? That's how I saw that because that becomes a trend. So to inspire, educate, and prepare 10 million fathers and their families to avoid financial slavery, to live their legacy, to really build their life intentionally around being there with the family, having important milestones. Like Patty being in Ecuador with Connor, she told me today, this education of Connor seeing my father go into a home and be here to help my mom is a better education than he would ever get in any school ever. And that's the truth. That's living your legacy. You're communicating with your family. You're sharing the important stories with each other, right? And then it is to make a positive impact on the community. That's the final piece of it. And that's what everyone here, like everyone here, my wish is that every single person that comes to these is bringing another person. I'm not saying that because I want more people in the room. It's because I want this message to go out. And it's not going to be just me and you, Gabe. Like that's why I said I love that you're finding your voice. Your voice is authentic. Just keep doing it. Keep taking action. What we're telling everyone else to do, like watch.
Hmm.
I have a podcast out that I'm going to share with you guys. Like I'm not, and nothing I'm saying is bragging. I just watch people that have been successful, like Chris Nagel or Brent, and say, okay, what are they doing? It is constantly teaching, constantly educating. So let's bring this home in the last 18 minutes. Imagine this, everyone. Imagine this. You're embarking on a cross-Atlantic trip. You're now captains of your ship, but you don't know where you're going. You don't know if you're going to Portugal, Africa, Australia, and you set out. Will you ever get there? No. You're going to go through storms, and then you're going to end up, hopefully, you make it to a beach somewhere, but you're going to be shipwrecked, derelict, out of food, out of ideas. But there is no captain that doesn't know where their ship's going, does not know where the port is not prepared to have whatever materials they need to get there. The same principle applies to IBC. These milestones, setting the milestones, helps you progress and stay motivated along the way. We talk about all the time. We train, teach, and test, and we celebrate our progress. You get done with a set, you high five your partner, you make the noise like, yes, yes, I did it. Like my son Diego got a job offer today. I high fived him, I shook him, I celebrated with him. I want him to feel that emotion. So how can you map out your IBC journey? Like you got your eyes closed, you're listening to me with Nelson Nash teaching us the first principle is long-term thinking. And thought leaders like Dr. Benjamin Hardy, be your future self now. So let's get our crystal balls out. And this is the part that I switched on this training, Gabe, is let's start with our big destination. I'm 50, you're in your 30s, right? How old are you, Gabe?
35.
35. So everybody add 20 years to your age right now. Man, I look good for 70. I'm sexy. Let's go. So now I'm 70. What do you want? Where do you see yourself going? Who are you with 20 years from now? What do you see yourself doing? How much money do you have? Where do you live? What does your family look like? How's your health? Financially, mentally, spiritually, physically? How's your time freedom? What have you done to leave the world better than you found it? Have you created books, mentorships? Are you leading at a church group? Are you mentoring men? Are you mentoring women? Like, what are you doing to make things better? Are you teaching martial arts like Gabe, doing his dream? Completely map out your family's roadmap and just dream. This is fuzzy. This is 20 years from now. And you're no longer, if you're using infinite banking, you're no longer relying on traditional financial systems. Maybe you're where Brent Kessler is with 28 policies. I have a peer that has 40 policies in his family system. He's been doing this for decades, much longer than Brent. I actually want to have a conversation with him. So your system's fueling generational wealth. 100-year plan, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about 20 years from now, but you're ensuring legacy for your children, for your grandchildren, for their children, and so on and so forth. Because now you have family constitutions, you're living by values. What does that look like for you? Like, just think about that for a second. What does that look like for you? And then from here, let's bring it down. Let's go to 10 years. It's going to get a little bit clearer. By now, your IBC system should be self-sustaining. It's a financial engine. Now it's a lifestyle. It's supporting both your personal, your business, and your family needs. And at that point, I would imagine it's also supporting your contribution, your tithing, your giving back. And now maybe you're giving back in a huge way. Maybe you're giving 10,000 a year, 100,000 a year, a million a year. Maybe it's 10 million a year at 10 years. And you're considering adding other policies to expand your family's legacy. Now maybe you have it operating in a trust and you understand what that means and why you're doing it.
Introspecting my own, kind of my own journey a little bit, just thinking where I am. And I don't run all my money through my policies, so I know there's room to grow, right? The way I kind of set it up, I had when I finally decided to start, I did an ambitious policy that was going to challenge me to pay the premiums yearly, But looking back now, I'm so happy I did that because now I wish my premium was even higher just because of the cash on cash return, right? But I do have outstanding balances that I want to pay off. I want to make it so I can, with my assets, I can pay off my policy loans, get back that full replenished cash value, then deploy it into, one more thing, and that continues a cycle. So I'm still not at the point where all my money is running through the policies. And sometimes I get mad, oh man, I'm missing out on recapturing this money and this, but in the end, like I don't need to get caught up in those mental gymnastics. I just want to think about what I need to do, right? It's like, okay, that's just kind of distraction. I just need to focus on, well, my plan is to increase my customer base, number one, for jujitsu, and then through that income from the academy, that's my cash flow business, that's my asset. I'll pay off the loans, and then hopefully get that income to a point where I don't have to work anymore in the painting business anymore. And then I'll have more time freedom to devote to my family, but the farm and sharing this message and spending more time with you guys in the money multiplier, but also competing more. I'm excited to compete more in jujitsu. And 10 years from now, I was still even thinking back to 20 years. My son will be 20, turning 21. I'll be 55, and I hope to still be competing on the mats, man. I feel like I'm just hitting my physical prime. I'm getting stronger than ever. And 'cause I went through like a lot of injuries, so I had to devote a lot of time to just like make my body strong, because in jujitsu, like your body is your weapon, it's your armor, your muscles are your armor. So I need to have a certain muscle layer to protect all my joints. And I'm just getting there. So I feel like I'm just kind of getting to my own in a lot of places in my life. And I'm excited for the next, 10 years. But these 10 years, it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm going to look back like, man, I'm really glad I did all that. Like you said, write some books, do some courses.
Really glad that you made a choice. What you're hearing Gabe say is he's making a choice about
Yeah.
who he's going to be. And that choice is someone that's strong, that's prepared, and that is ready for opportunities. That's what I heard my man
Yeah.
say. I know I heard him say yesterday he's going to have some cow cuddling, you all. So just wait to the future. Gabe might invite you to his farm, and he might charge you a discount price of $200 to cuddle a cow when it's 250. I'm going to move past this, Gabe, because I want to keep it moving. But
Yeah.
that is some of the fun we can have on this. We can do this together. We can do this together. Like, we are a community. We are like-minded, and we're here because we believe. And this is, I'll bring this to a different level for me at least. This is good versus evil. I have Yoda back there for a reason. I see myself and Gabe and us as the evangelists as being Jedi. Like, I like to see myself as Yoda. I want to be wise. I want to be peaceful. I want to have that ability to fight when I need to fight. That's why I do Taekwondo. Like, I'm not doing it because I think I'm going to be in a fight. I'm doing it so I can be prepared. So I can not only keep my mind sharp, keep my body sharp, but it's also the spiritual journey of the evolution of who you become along the way. That's the most exciting part. That's our human experience. And all we're doing with IBC is says everything with IBC as a foundation. Gabe talked about your physical body as a foundation. IBC is your financial foundation. Period. Full stop. End the story.
Yeah.
The pinnacle of that triangle is the legacy piece that we're talking about that's also guaranteed immediately. And so now we take it back to the 5 year period where we're expanding our IBC, right? We started, we weren't sure, but we got on the mat. We were white belts at some point. We didn't know what the heck's going on, but we had faith that we could. Like Henry Ford says, and I say this on every call, you either think you can or you think you can. Either way, you're right. And many of you know that have talked to me, that I've helped. I'm not moving you forward unless you're at like a 10 or 11 or 12 on a scale of 1 to 10, because you're the only risk to this whole thing. And so 5 years into it, think about where you're going to be in 5 years. We're going to have a place in Ecuador. We're going to be doing events, founding fathers. Like, we're going to do our first event this year. We're going to ride across Florida. So if you guys are cyclists, start preparing. It's a 250-mile ride. We might break it into 2 days. But like, start seeing the things happened already as if they happened. So 5 years from now, what do you have? What are you doing with your time? What are you doing in contribution and service? Because as we know, the bigger the problems we solve for people, or the more problems we solve, the more that it's going to come back to us. That's just good energy. And so 5 years from now, where are you? Are you expanding your system? Are you doing additional policy? Like Gabe said, with his policies, like same thing, Gabe. We're putting in, we did the math real quick, 33% of our entire income goes into our four policies. And Patty looks at me like, I think you did too much. I think we should just pay the base. I'm like, no, babe, we got this. We're gonna figure it out. We will make sure we pay the full, keep it efficient, but it could still be better. But we're stretching ourselves. It's uncomfortable. But I believe to that point, like I was not even saving
Yeah.
10% a year. And now I'm forcing myself to save 33%. And that money goes in and it comes out and it goes to pay the taxes, to things like we're using it to run the business, to invest in our skill set to bring this to you all, right? To do this, what we love. And then we go to our 3 year. Now, your 3 year is not very far away. So this should be more, in my mind, it should be more detailed. It should be measurable, SMART goal, right? It should be something that you know exactly where you're going 3 years from now. Who's your who's in your life? What have you stopped doing that's not in your 20%, your genius, and had someone else do it for you? Like maybe it's as easy as getting someone to cook for you or hiring someone to clean your house or someone to mow the lawn. Like the things that you do with your time now, like where are you able to take what you're really good at and expand your gift? And in your 3 years, this is where you're making your major purchases, right? This is that stage two of consumer, or maybe now you're even putting the money to work and you're seeing that increase of efficiency. Now you've passed the first 2 years of your policy, and now you see that in year three, you have 80 to 90% access. Or maybe if you've overfunded, your efficiency is already where you're making money back. You already have a cash tree, as our buddy Joe likes to call it. I don't love that term, by the way, Gabe. I like the efficiency
The
point.
money tree. Yeah.
Yes, because I think the money tree makes it like I just
I'd
like,
rather call the policy a money tree. I think that's a better name. Like you call it the rich man Roth the other day. That's still stuck in my mind. That's a cool name. I
yeah,
thought the actual policy was called a money tree, not that year is a money tree is where it's efficient. But
that's
either
that
way, I got me
efficiency.
one of. I don't care what it's called. I got me one of those policies.
That's exactly it. We can call it whatever we
Yeah,
want, right? So,
yeah.
and
Peg made it for me. It was awesome. I'm really happy with it. My first one with Lafayette Life. Happy with it.
And then we got our 1 year, right? This is evaluating your policy's cash value. This is, it's just like getting on the mat in martial arts. This is what Gabe was talking about 15, 20 minutes ago. Listen, some of you here, you're not practicing yet. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe you don't believe. Maybe you haven't got to the point where you're making more than you're spending. And that's okay. You're just not there yet. But to be part of the infinite banking journey, to actually do it, you must test. And testing is getting on the mat. It's starting a policy. Like you've learned, you've been with us for 8 weeks. This is the ninth week. And then we're going to keep coming back and teaching you every week. I'm going to bring Gabe back for sure. Like I love co-hosting like this, flowing like this. It's fun. And you're going to see us improve our ability to make this easier. That is my thing I want to give all of you is to make this stupid simple. I've heard Hannah say that. I'm like, that's perfect with my last name. It'll be Sipple, stupid, simple, right? So or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's ensuring that you've established these consistent contributions. You've started telling yourself these aren't premiums, they're premium deposits. You're redirecting your cash flow into your policy. You're looking at your mindset. Maybe you've started a money meeting, right? So those are your 1 year goals. And then the financial mastery of this, one of the most important things that Gabe's talked about, he's talked about where he's going to jiu-jitsu with his family, with his IBC. You've heard me sharing the same things. IBC is a lifestyle. If you're committing to being a master, and you don't have to commit to mastery, but mastery isn't a one time achievement. There is no destination, there is no arrival. It's a continuous process of learning, adapting, growing, making mistakes, falling down, and getting back up. So, your cash flow creation, your policy expansion, your legacy planning. Remember, it's not just about building wealth for yourself, it's about creating more for your family, a generational impact. It's about doing what the wealthiest families have been doing, why they have family offices. I have a buddy who's picking between family offices that he's going to go train and coach their family to carry on the legacy. So even seeing what the wealthy families are doing, it's not easy. They just had a bigger vision or maybe a bit different opportunity, but we all have that same opportunity. Mentorship. Talk about this for a second. This is something that you're mentored by some great martial artists. You're
Oh
mentored
yeah.
here. So talk
And
about mentorship.
Brand, I mean, like mentors can help you. They see that they're so far ahead of you. Hopefully, the right mentor that like what is it? You can't see the forest for the trees. I remember Brent told me, "Don't waste your time with that." Like it was. I'm not gonna say what it was, but I wanted to do something where it might seem more like admin work, where like where he was like, where you need to be is talking to people, doing presentations, and like spreading the message. Like, don't worry about doing like admin type of stuff, and that's just like a little example, but for sure with my instructor Sensei Shanji, there were like moves I would try. He's like, don't ever do that again. But that's the value of a mentor. Like they'll save you a lot of time because they want to distill, and especially if they care about you, you want to find someone that you just have a connection, and they care about you as a human, you growing, and you're not just like making the money or something. Sometimes people think they have mentors, but it's just someone that's like profiting off of them, and they'll pour into them as long as like you're making the money. But it's like once that stops, they kind of cut you off. I've seen all kinds of stuff ever since I started like learning about money. But with the money multiplier, it's why I love even just being on the ask me anything, the mentor calls. Everyone's very genuine, and we want to like we care about the people we talk to, our clients. No one's here to make a quick buck. Everything's actually the opposite. It's very long-term vision, knowing that if we do a good job educating you, you're going to be happy with your policy, and then you're going to spread the message and and help us. Like Brent's always been very gracious with me. So to me, I think it's so important, mainly because I don't want to get lost in life and go down the wrong path. I've always kind of been like that, so I've always sought out people who know what they're doing, they care about you, and maybe they're at the top of their field. That's cool too. Trying to
And
keep up with them.
you're giving some great permission, like with Brent and acknowledging Brent and how he's impacting your life. Like I can feel it. Like everyone that's
Yeah,
listening can feel that impact and what he means to you. And listen, I don't think Gabe is talking to Brent all the time. You might
no,
have action here or there, or
maybe like
maybe
once a year, but it was
or
enough interactions.
but
And
but
with
my point
with
being is
Shanji too.
for everyone here, you don't have to have that person in your life to consider them a mentor. You might have never met Tony Robbins, but maybe he's changed and he's
Yeah,
shown you something in your life, and you're like, that's my mentor. And you start following those things. It's the same here. And when I'm talking about mentorship, team, community, look at everyone on fire in the chat today. Like you have people that are showing you the roadmap to success. They've done it, they've been here, and they're dedicated to mastery to do more. You have people that haven't started. Find your tribe. Find somebody. If you want to get better at whatever you're doing, find someone that's a little bit better than you. Don't be the big fish in a little pond. You know what I mean? Like, go find someone that's just a little bit ahead of you. Go find someone who started the journey and build a relationship with them. Build that community with them. Find someone that's got passive income and start. Like, I wrote down yesterday in my notebook multiple times, and I told Patty last night, oh my God, I was overwhelmed. I was like, I have so much to learn. I have so much to learn about investing. I have so much to learn about infinite banking. There's so much to learn about some of the other companies that we work with and what's possible for people. And then I thought about it and I said, you know what? My words this year are patience, empathy, and fun. And I'm going to get there. I've evolved so much in a short period of time. And I'm so proud of that evolution. You guys have seen it from my mom and Patty being here to consistently having you all here showing up because we keep pouring into you. And so find your group, find your mentorships, get on the mat, surround yourself with others on the same journey. And don't hesitate to reach out when you need guidance. Patty loves our community. She wants to be there. So let's wrap this up. Action steps for the week. Map out your milestones. Don't take notes, go make your notes. Map out your milestones. Define your 20-year, your 10-year, your 5-year, your 3-year, your 1 year. Envision what that looks like. Take 10 minutes to write down each of those sections. What does success look like at each stage? What you're going to find is that some of the things that you think are important and you hear other people say and you're just picking it up isn't that important. Maybe your dream isn't to go out and inspire and educate 10 million people. Maybe it's just to have 50 people. Maybe it's 10 people. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's just your kids. Like, what's really important to you? And that's okay. It's your life, not mine, not Gabe's. We're here because you're the hero of this journey. And then reflect on your progress. Like, have you picked a date to start something? I'm buying a gravel bike today because my friend asked me if I wanted to, like, off of Facebook, Gabe, because my friend said, hey, do you want to do a 100-mile gravel thing? And I'm riding like 30 miles. I'm really out of shape. But I'm like, hell yeah. And so I was like, well, I can't do a gravel race on a tri bike. That'd be a disaster. I probably need a gravel bike. And I've been thinking about getting one for like the last 6 or 8 months and told Patty, she's like, do it. She's like, do it. We're at a point where you can go, get that bike. I sent her the thing and we'll see. Like I made an offer on it. But I've picked I'm giving that example because I picked a date. I'm going to ride 100 miles in March. I don't have a gravel bike. So I went to Facebook Marketplace and I found one and I made an offer on it. And hopefully I'll have a bike by Saturday. It's the same thing with infinite banking. You have to pick where you're going, what you want, and then just start taking action. Action is the only solve for anything, whether it's making more money, whether it's dialing in your habits, or whether it's just getting on the mat and starting, right? And so, again, find the community, grow with the community, keep learning, keep being persistent, keep coming here and learning, keep being around this, keep hearing the same things, whether, you're Chris having 14 plus policies, Brent having 28, another guy I know having 40, right? Don't compare yourself. Comparison's a thief of all joy. Compare yourself to you. Where were you a week ago? Where were you a month ago? Where were you a year ago? If you do that, you've got nothing to worry about. You're here giving your most valuable resource, which is your time, your energy, your focus. So we're wrapping up boot camp. This is a long one, but we promise to over deliver since we're doing it again. So I want you to remember IBC is a journey about consistency, patience, growth, and the road to mastery is a whole life commitment. Some of you are commitment phobes. I know you. You don't want to commit to anything. But when you make the commitment and you give yourself the permission, it's just why not start with a small commitment, a 24-hour commitment, a commitment to read Nelson's book, a commitment to watch the Money Multiplier presentation again, a commitment to write down what you spend and what you make. Don't let that fear cripple you. Take action. That decision of action will free you. That's where the freedom is. That's where the joy is. That's where abundance is. Because money, bigger houses, bigger things, it ain't going to bring you joy. Ask the wealthy people. Ask Kiyosaki. I've heard him say that, oh, well, it's cool. I can go buy whatever car I want. But he still has like a lot of, like Brent was talking about the other day, like he shared in our meeting, right? You're going out and you're getting guidance from others on other parts of your journey. The money doesn't solve everything. You're still you. So, Gabe, bring it home, man. Land the plane for me.
Yeah, the money, it's a means of exchange for the real things that matter, right? Our families, our health. There was a UFC fighter, Khabib Nurmagomedov, who he beat like Conor McGregor and he won like all this money. I think it was one of the biggest payouts ever. And what did he do? He went back to Russia. He bought farm animals, right? Like real tangible things. He bought animals and animals to feed his village and just just to have. But like those are real things. And sometimes we get confused with the abstract thought of money that we didn't actually think about what we're actually going to do with it. And I think having a clear idea of what would a perfect day look for you, how would it feel like if you didn't have to, like, one thing for me, it's not like I love to eat well, but good food. I always hated to look at the price of the menu. It's like, oh, I can't get guac at Chipotle because it's an extra $3. Like now we have a blended family. I have, I guess, four stepkids and with Koa, so it's seven of us. So like just going out to eat at Chipotle, it's $80, right? So it's just like scan the
Eight,
Amex and
80, you're tripping, bro. There's no way it's $80. If I take my family of four out at Chipotle, it's $80. So you're underestimating by a lot unless you anyhow. But yeah,
anyway,
yes.
so it's like sometimes I get upset. It's like, oh, it's all this money, but it's like we're getting food, man. We get to eat what we choose to eat. You know, because I came from the generation where it's like, hey, we got rice and beans at home, like, you know. So now, like, being able to just get whatever food we want to eat, like, those are things that matter. Maybe I have to work a little bit more and work hard, but I don't know. Just think about what matters to you and meditate on it. You know, take some walks in nature and think about it.
I love that. Go outside, ground, see sunrises, see sunsets. Yeah, we're talking about banking, but we're saying, hey, feel what's important to you. Be honest with yourself. Maybe some of the things you're telling yourself isn't that important, but again, anything you've missed, it's there. I had the James who does an amazing job editing these. He's put it in a playlist for us, Gabe, so you can go watch. And hey, you flip the playlist, so you can go watch it weeks 1 through 9. We're going to be back next week with new topics. There's more education coming out. Just stay around this, invite people, come back. We love you guys. Oh, I got a good job, Dad, from Connor. Thank you, buddy. You know, Connor just built a giant thing. Gabe was like 1,800 Lego pieces or something. And he got
Oh,
another one.
sweet.
It was like 1,200 pieces, right? And he's like, Dad, will you build that before I come home? I wanted to because I love Legos. And I thought, nah, you're going to tell me you're bored sometime soon. And then you're going to have something to do to keep you busy, to grow your skills. And the satisfaction, the only reason I'm bringing this, the satisfaction of a job well done, no matter what it is something that no one can take away from you. So get on the mat, train, teach, test. Testing is doing a policy, right? You got my information here. If you haven't talked to me, you can book a call here. I'm gonna be happy to talk to you, to see where you're at, to meet you where you're at, and to guide you. But you're testing, and then you turn around and you teach, and that's what the gentlemen and the women here are doing in the chat. They're saying, "Hey, I did this. I have this thought. You know, I can't keep up with the chat while we're leading this, but I see you guys doing it, and you're leaders in the chat, and that's what we need in the community." So be blessed. Thank you. We went long today, but thank you for being with us. Thank you for giving us your time. We're excited to be back next week. And Gabe, let's look at this and how can we make it better, my friend. So
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys have any topics you want us to do trainings on, if you want to let Jason know, you know, we'll be happy to put something together, either one-off videos or different sessions. But we definitely want to take this, distill it, make it really good so that when you invite your friends to come see it, they can get it. And, you know, by then we've done it several times and, you know, we'll get right to the point and help them get started and
that's a
start
big
changing their
commitment,
financial
right to the
life.
point, you and I. That's a big commitment, Gabe. No, I love it. Ask us questions. Emmett, Jay, Felix, everybody, Michael, everybody not naming. Thank you for being here. Be blessed. God bless. We'll see you next time. We'll see you soon. So this week we wrapped up and we showed you the outline of how to set milestones, what the different stages of owning a policy looks like, whether you're in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. We're teaching you how to think long term and helping you focus on what is it that you really want. What do you really want? So if you're new here, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, smash the bell, because it might turn blue and alert you to all the new content. Again, I appreciate you being here, investing in yourself and your real estate between your ears. And I'm going to see you in this next video where I teach you more about the infinite banking process and how it's the foundation for guaranteed growth, legacy, and the freedom financially that we all want and dream of. And it's one single change away, changing one thing in your life. And I'll teach you more about that in this video. See you soon.